Which higher do you work at?
So I am now at a not-for-profit organization called the Grayston Foundation. But usually I work in higher education. I'll probably be transitioning back to higher education next year. But I'm a caregiver for my mom. So I needed to work remotely because she has dementia. And it was just really difficult going, back into the workplace while I was trying to manage her and take care of her. So
Yes.
yeah.
My sister and I just finished doing that with my father until he transitioned.
I'm so sorry. He had dementia?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. It's tough. It's tough.
It's interesting because they don't realize they have it. And it's when I talk, because they always say, oh, it's like dealing with a child. I said, no, because a child, you were teaching them how to be independent.
Right.
With them,
Right.
part of them is grieving, losing their independence.
Right.
And a sense of dignity. I said, so it's not being, I said, there's certain overlaps, but it's very different. And I said, and the problem, to me, the challenge a lot of people have is treating them as though they're a child versus an adult grieving the loss of their independence and their dignity.
Absolutely. And 40% of the caregivers die before the patients. My doctor told me that. 40%.
I believe it, because if my sister and I weren't doing it together.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's there, and I keep telling people this society has really fallen short when it comes to
taking care.
Senior care. I mean, some of my, it's horrific.
Yeah, I agree.
There needs to be better training. There needs to be better support. There needs to be better resources. I mean, I have other elders that are going through that and trying to support those family members. It's, as you said, I could totally see how that's the statistics, because you get burnt out before they do.
Tell me about it. I know I'm an only child, so it's just me. So
wow.
I know it's a lot.
And then trying to work on top of it.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I apologize. I didn't want to bring everyone down. I'm sorry.
Not at all. It allowed me a grace period to get everything set up. So people have been listening. So now they're getting to know you.
Okay, that's fine. So just let me know.
But it's also an important topic to bring up, because it's like that elephant in the room that people don't want to discuss. Yeah. And it's not getting any better over time.
No.
Are becoming dementia younger and younger.
Yeah,
absolutely. And to look at what is causing that. I mean, it's come to a point now that we've normalized, well, yeah, by the time you're in your like 60s, 70s, or 80s, of course you've got dementia. Versus back in the day, we had elders who were in their 90s and 100s and clear as a bell and could do things.
In their right frame of mind. Absolutely. Oh gosh, I could write a book on all of this stuff. So,
well, if you ever need any support or anything, just reach out, because
of course,
each other, it takes a village for real.
Oh, I know. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. So we've gotten a chance to kind of know who you are, and I'm very glad to have you here. So for everyone who's watching, welcome to Transformation Thursday, to week 111.
Oh, gosh.
And I know it's like, how to get 100 people to speak on a Thursday.
Sure, good cause.
So this topic is so important as we transition into what the calendar says is the new year, quote unquote, but that's a whole other discussion.
Right. Right.
So, but as we do acknowledge that a new cycle is beginning, the topic of decluttering and minimalism is very important. So I am super, super glad to have Miss Tammy here. First, because she's Bronx born, and thank you. And also because I read her story, her account, and it's just so inspiring that it
Oh,
really helped me like jumpstart my decluttering journey. So it's like it's going to be to the point where it's like, wait a minute, I can't get rid of everything. So it's definitely been a great inspiration for me.
oh,
So
thank
I
you.
so Miss Tammy, if you would just like to introduce yourself and what you will be sharing with everyone this evening.
Absolutely. I'm Tammy Richardson, and I am a social worker. I am also I have a degree in social work and HR. So it's so funny because I love both of them. So where in my current role, I'm the director of supportive services, but I just serve as the EAP office. So I'm able to combine both of those. But and then I always tell people my part-time job and what I do is part-time is just try to work on myself, right? So and I'm always a work in progress. I'm always trying to reinvent myself. And that's why I'm here today. I have started this mission or this journey of being a minimalist years ago. And I would start, I would stop, I would start, I would stop. And, things happen and life happens and you try to pick up where you left off. So I think this time 2022 and beyond, I think I'm on the path to stay, I hope, and cross my fingers. But it's been a rough journey, but I wanted to share with everyone because you can do it, everyone can do it, and it's different for everyone. No one's journey is the same, and we can just get into that as well. You want me to keep going?
No, here I am
Oh,
talking, and I had the mute button
okay.
on. What is your career again? You're a social worker and an
So
educational
I
visionary.
I am. So I've had can't talk. I have over 20 years in higher education. So I have been a teacher also with the New York City Public Schools. I've worked in higher education for about 15, almost about 18 years now. Right now, I work for a not-for-profit. As I was stating earlier, I'm the caregiver of my mom. She has dementia, and it was really difficult for me to continue to work in higher ed because we were back. We weren't still remote. And I was taking care of my mom. So I transitioned to this position with not-for-profit just to work remotely until I can get her on the right path. So we're good now. I'll probably transition back into higher education next year. But yeah, I always say I'm a leader, a visionary. I like to help people and advocate for people and help people get back on track and help people do the work and kind of find themselves and whatever that may look like. And, while recognizing that no two people are the same. So yeah, I am just obedient to my assignment and I'm a servient leader, if you will. Uh-oh, you're on mute. Think
I
you're on
have
mute.
this. Yes, always. Oh my
Okay,
God.
that's okay.
So, can you explain what is minimalism?
Oh my gosh. So I want to start off by saying I'm not perfect. Nobody is perfect in this piece. So as we speak tonight, you'll find out that there's so many moving pieces to it. But minimalism is basically reducing or living with. So let me back up. Less is more. Right. I think that's something that we can agree with. That's one of my favorite quotes. Less is more. So minimalism is basically trying to do the most with what you have, trying to maybe downsize or scale or file down, whatever those things are that is causing chaos in your life. So I always say, and I may say it 5 or 6 times during this conversation, chaos brings clutter. Chaos creates clutter. And all that stuff. Clutter creates chaos in your head. So minimalism is trying to control or to capture or to get rid of whatever that chaos is for you. And that's why I said it's always different for everyone, because as we speak about it, I'll explain why my minimalism didn't start with clothes and things like that. My minimalism started with finances. So it's whatever is causing you that angst, whatever is causing you to be stressful, whatever you have an abundance of that you think you can do without, and that you choose to get rid of or compartmentalize or organize, that's a definition of how to minimize and what minimalism is. Again, it's a fluid word because it's always so different for everyone.
Okay, thank you. So how did you get started?
Oh my God. So this is so crazy. So just to be transparent, I got a divorce, right? And I have two children. I got a divorce and my children were smaller. They're not small anymore. And we had a good life. We had a decent life, upper middle class Black folks. We had moved to Georgia, and my husband's family transferred, my husband's job transferred us to Georgia, and everything was great. But we got a divorce. So what happened after the divorce, I felt like I had to overcompensate, if that makes sense, right? So I always overdid it, overshot, making sure that the kids didn't miss anything or I didn't want them to be without. Like I wanted them to have everything. So if they asked for a pair of sneakers, I would go get them 2 pair each. Here, take a blue pair. Here, you need a black pair. If they asked for a new jacket, I would maybe get them 2 or 3 jackets. So just to piggyback a little bit, just to go backwards, I really, and I think I stated this before, was a shopaholic, a real shopaholic, meaning I went to counseling for shopping too much. So it got out of hand. And next thing I knew, like I was constantly buying stuff, constantly in the stores, again, overcompensating. So in my mindset, so I moved, shouldn't say this on live TV. I moved while he was at work. I filed for divorce, moved while he was at work. But the things that I didn't want, I left behind in the house and I started all over. And I remember saying, like, I work hard. I'm going to get this. I'm going to purchase this, or I don't have to worry about this price because I need this. So in the midst of all of that, I overshopped and just got myself into so much trouble financially. So when we talk about minimalism, for me, a lot of people start with, like I said, their clothes or shoes and things like that. For me, it was finances, right? So maybe about 2 years, and some of the dates, this was about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe about five or 6 years ago. So the dates are foggy. But for me, almost 2 years after the marriage, I had accumulated about $30,000 in debt. And I thought, and it was keeping me up at night. I've always been a person to stay on top of my bills. I've always been a person to like pay a little bit more and, try to pay down within 2 months and keep my debt under control. But with the divorce and trying to overcompensate and making sure that the kids had everything they needed, I shot myself into almost $30,000 in debt. It was keeping me up at night. And that was my piece. That is where the minimalism piece came in for me, because I started to declutter my finances. That was huge for me. So I followed Dave Ramsey, his snowball method, which I loved. So I'm rounding it up to about 30,000. It was around 27, 28. But I took care of that debt in a year. And there were some little cheats that I did, and I can kind of explain that to you. But the way that it works is you pay the smallest bill first, and then you take that same money that you were putting on that small bill, then you put it on the next bill until you become debt free. But my family also knew that we had to sacrifice. Like I didn't eat out for almost a year. We were eating at home and cooking at home. Every once in a while, I would sneak out and go to like Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. And look, I would drink it in the car and then throw the cups away before I got home because I was being so strict with this stuff. But I knocked out almost $30,000 in debt in a year because for me, that's where my chaos was. My chaos was in my finances. And it literally was keeping me up at night. Like really, like, oh my God, I got to pay this bill. Oh my God, this is due on the 15th. This is due there. And it was so stressful for me. So when people talk about minimalism, that's why I say everyone's journey is so different, because my journey had to start with my money. It had to start with finances. So, I sold stuff on eBay. Remember, I now had this new home with the kids. We had a townhouse condo and that I had furnished and everything, $30,000 in debt within 2 years. So just to back up, I came out of my marriage with zero debt, nothing. Because remember, I told you I was that person that paid all the bills, kept my balance at zero. But within 2 years after the divorce, I was up to about $30,000. So I started selling stuff. I had a lot of luxury bags. Remember, shopaholic here. And again, when I say shopaholic, it bothers me. It doesn't bother me, but when people always say, "Oh my gosh, I'm such a shopaholic. Oh my gosh, I'm that," and I think you're really not, because unless you really see that that's an issue, like for me, and you go to counseling, you don't really know what a shopaholic is until you actually do the work and you go to counseling. And I really had to go to counseling and, found out that there was some trauma there, and that my trauma was the divorce, and my trauma was trying to overcompensate for the kids. And my trauma was, if my ex-husband and his family ever came to visit, they'll see how great we're living, and they'll see this new living room set, they'll see this, and the kids aren't wanting for anything. That was my trauma, almost trying to get back at them, but also making sure that the kids didn't miss a beat. So going back to, I sold things on eBay and Poshmark and all those things. I had some luxury bags, really nice, because like I said, we really were upper middle class when we were married. So we weren't really struggling with finances, which was why we were always be able to keep on top of bills. But I shopped a lot. And I had some luxury bags, like a Louis Vuitton bag, a Gucci bag that I sold. And that gave me a jump start to this $30,000. I think I sold some of my designer bags. I got about $4,000. And then I started just, once I got the finances together and paid everything off, I started to look around, and then I saw the trauma throughout the house, right? I think I was mentioning in one of the groups I was in, I don't know what made me count, but I started counting pillows. I had like 50 pillows in the house, because that was one of the things that as a shopaholic, just like a person who overeats, or a person who overindulges with maybe drugs, the shopaholic is that person too, right? You'll find out that you can't stop, and you're at every sale, and you don't need it, but you're going to get it just in case you may need it. And my vice was were boots. We'll get into that. Boots, shoes, bracelets, pillows, and toiletries and products. That was, and of course, things for the children. So I was like, wait a minute. I had, and this is really no exaggeration, I had 50 pillows. So I was like, I had pillows for the bed for the fall. I had pillows for the bed for the, each season. I had different pillows that I would switch out for the couch, my son's room, my daughter's room. Just, it was almost a sickness. Really, it really was. And I was like, I think one day I got to that point. I was like, oh my God, why do I have freaking 50 pillows? So I got rid of a lot. I have about 6 in the house now. I got rid of a lot of them, gave them to Goodwill, donated them. But again, that's the shopaholic piece. You just keep buying and buying, like you're out of control. And if you don't do that work, it gets worse. So then my next thing, so that was the part of the decluttering. I'm so embarrassed to tell you, I probably had almost 300 pairs of shoes and boots. So I'm big on Dress for Success. I love them. They're a not-for-profit organization that helps women get back on their feet from whatever the situation is, but they provide work clothes for them. So when they go on a job interview, or even when they start working, and I could be wrong with their mission or whatever their vision is, but I believe they give them enough clothes for a week, right? So when they start a new job, they'll have enough clothes for a week, and they can go to work and feel good about themselves and feel successful and be successful. So I gave them about 100 pairs of shoes. And right now, again, everybody's journey is different. So I went from about 300 pair immediately to about 200 pair. And now I'm probably at about 75. My goal is to get to 25, and I'll be comfortable. And again, and I know I'm going to keep saying it, this minimalism piece is fluid. It's not the same for everyone, because some people think, well, minimalism, I just need 2 pairs of shoes. And you might. And that might work for some people. And I know folks, I have friends that have done it, and they sit in an empty house and they're fine with it. I think I need more than 2 pair of shoes, but from someone who had almost 300 pair of shoes, and my goal is to get to 25, and I'm right at 75 now, that's huge for me. You know, my second vice was products. I'm always looking for stuff for my skin and hair and things like that. And I had almost 70, 80 bottles of shampoos and conditioners and just silly stuff. Remember, it's the shopaholic. It's that addiction to just buying and always wanting something new and shiny. Got rid of a lot of those when I was still working in college. I gave a lot to my students and things like that. So when I say that I'm still a person that's still in motion and that's still getting there, I really am. But I think going to counseling and figuring out what my chaos was so helpful. Like I said, the finances and not able to get them together, that was my chaos. Looking all over my house with all these pillows everywhere and couldn't walk, that was my chaos. And those were the things that I tried to reduce. My wardrobe, I don't know if you can see, I wear all black. 90% of the things that I have are black. Yeah, 90% of my wardrobe is black. And that's just, for me, that's minimalism, not in the quantity, but the simplicity of it. And that's another layer of minimalism. What is it that simplifies your life? What are the routines that simplifies your life? What are the things that you can do to make you not foggy, right? And for me, it's wearing black. It's I'm the caregiver for my mom. I was talking about that earlier. And some days I'm just ripping and running. I need to just be able to go in a closet and pull out black pants, pull out black top. I don't need to figure out how it's going to match. I just know that, but usually if I put my hand in my closet right now and pull something out, I'm going to probably pull out something black. That was another layer of minimalism to me. That doesn't mean that that works for everyone, but I had to simplify my wardrobe because having like the floral and the pinstripe and all those things and all these different colors and all that stuff was, again, creating chaos in my head. And that's why I can't stress enough. Everyone is different, but whatever it is that causes chaos, that's the area that you should start your minimalism journey in. I had not recently, maybe about 2 months ago, I had a professional organizer come and help me. So my mom, to make her feel comfortable, I am her legal guardian, meaning I had to sue the state for legal guardianship over her. But I am her legal guardian, so she lives with me. But I bought a lot of her things here, right? It almost set me back again, just so she could be comfortable in her space. But what happened is, in her room, I can't even go in there because it's like her old house and everything is so tight. So one of her friends, or one of my friends, picked her up and they went wherever they went for a day. I had an organizer come in and help me get her house together because I say house, but her room, because I wasn't even able to function. And I realized as I do this journey with minimalism, again, I'll say it again, it's the chaos. Whatever is driving you crazy is where you need to start. And I can't stress that enough, and whatever that is. So it took us 4 hours. My son helped, my daughter helped, the professional organizer was there, I was there. So it was four of us, 4 of us in the space in 4 hours. We were able to declutter, get her room back on track. And now I'm able to go in there and sit with her and, let her talk crazy to me and things like that. But I couldn't even step foot in there because there was so much going on and it got me so stressed out. So again, this is probably the 7th time I've said that. The chaos, whatever it is that causes the chaos in your head, whatever that is, that's the clutter, the chaos, the clutter. You can say it either way. The chaos is the clutter is the chaos. That's where you need to start with your minimalism journey. I can go on and on, but I'm here if you want to ask questions. But, talk to me, whatever you want to talk about. But I will, this is some other things I wanted to say. I always tell people, you don't need that. Stop buying stuff that you don't need. And I know, coming from someone like myself who's a shopaholic, I can really say that. And I know that half the time when we're on Amazon and when we are looking for stuff, we don't need half of that stuff. We really don't. I'm in Virginia now, so we just had that bad storm, and they're not used to storms like that. They're never prepared down here in the South. But I remember the kids were like, "Mom, we have to go shopping. We have to get this." I was like, "No, we have a deep freezer. freezer and we are going to eat down what's in that deep freezer. And we did. And they were like, there's nothing here to eat. I was like, I made soup. I made, rice and some vegetables. We had fish, all those things. And they were like, where are you getting all this stuff from? But that was another thing. I would always shop and just buy and buy and buy just to make sure the freezer was stocked. And then what would happen? Half the stuff would get freezer burned, or we wouldn't use it, or we don't want that anymore. So for me, another part of my minimalism, another part of my journey is spending down or using down what we have. So if I have spices, I like to cook a little bit, I go through spurts, but I'm not going to buy something until it's probably that, like, right there. But before, when I was over shopping, right, I would have 4 lemon peppers. I would have 4 garlic salts and things like that, just because I would just buy it just to buy it. But now another part of my journey is I'm going to wait until we're almost to the end before I purchase it again, because I just realized it just creates clutter. It really does. So talk to me, whatever you want to know, or if you need more information, just talk to me. I don't want this to be all me. I want to hear from you, or whatever I can do to help you.
So I'm just looking at the comments on Instagram.
Okay.
Because people were definitely okay. Okay. Someone said that they were in the midst of decluttering and they're taking a break to watch this. So that's very much on time.
Oh.
And someone else said that they have 3 closets full of clothes that they wore before the panini that they no longer fit, but they have hopes of fitting into them one day.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we're in that group, where people pose that question sometime. Well, what if, in the future, I need this. So would you care to address that?
Yeah. So you know what I always say, and I have some talking points too. So if I look down, I'm just reading some of my talking points. But you have to start somewhere. And I don't want to keep sounding vague, but just start. Start somewhere. It doesn't matter where you start. You can start in your silverware drawer. Just start somewhere. So now, as far as the clothes, look, my weight goes up and down. You pick out the few pieces that you really love. And if it's a size that you can't fit and you think you'll get back, maybe save 1 or 2 pieces. But most likely we probably won't get back into those things. If you haven't worn them in a year, I would say go ahead and donate them. I feel really good about donating to shelters, because there are women in those shelters that really need things, right? And we have all this stuff sitting in our closet when we could be helping other people. Just give the stuff away. But now if it's something, if you have these favorite black pants and they were an investment piece and you love them and you think that you're going to get back in them, then keep them, because also it's whatever brings you joy. Right? What we don't want to do is start giving stuff away, getting rid of stuff, and now you're sick about it. Oh my God, I missed that jacket. Why did I give that jacket away? You don't want to do that, because you want to feel good, you want to feel comfortable, but also keeping all of that stuff is just it's creating the chaos for you, right? It's creating that anxiety and that stress. So if you can't give them away, let me tell you a trick. Invite some friends over, right? And make them lunch or whatever it is that you do, or invite some friends over, and you would be surprised how friends can help you declutter, because they're not attached to any of your things. I have a girlfriend who helped me when we were moving here, and I told her, come over, help me get rid of stuff, whatever you want, or take them to, she's a principal, take them to your students. She pulled out of my little walk-in closet 8 big contractor bags of stuff. 8, and to this day, I don't even remember what was in those bags. That's because I forgot all about that stuff. So, it's important to get rid of stuff. The longer you keep it, it really causes stress. But give it to a good charity. Give it to an organization where that someone else would be able to get joy out of it. But don't just, you got to let go. And that's why I always tell people you have to do the work. This is work. This is real work. This is work where you have to sit and reflect, why the heck am I holding on to all of this stuff? Like, what is this meaning for me to hold on to these pairs of pants that I wore in college. You just have to let go. And I think it's just a mindset. But once you get to, well, maybe someone else can benefit from this and move on, then you'll see that you'll start to release. But you have to let go and you have to do the work. And that's why I was saying that if you're not ready to do the work of minimalism, then don't do it. Because you're going to sit there and you're going to take stuff and put stuff up, and then you go back and grab it out the bag, or maybe pack the bag and leave it at the door and not take it to the Goodwill. You can't do that. You have to be ready to release. Another quick little great tip is put the stuff that you don't want in a garbage bag. Have a friend come over and take those bags out of your house immediately. Put them in their car and tell them to go ahead and take them to the Goodwill or wherever you need to do, Salvation Army, or donate them. Put the stuff in the bag and you get it out of your house within that first hour. Because if not, you're going to go back to the bag later. Oh, wait, I think I put those shoes in there. I'm going to go back and get them. Put the stuff in the bag and get the stuff out your house. That's what the personal organizer helped me to realize, that came and helped me with my mom. She said, we're going to pack this stuff up and I'm going to go put all this stuff in my car. So as we were decluttering my mother's room, right, she was taking stuff. I was like, why don't you just wait until the end? She said, nope. As we fill these bags up, I'm putting them in my car. She had like a little minivan. I'm putting them in my car. And again, I don't even remember what she took or what we took out of that room. It was stuff that was so irrelevant, but she took it out as we were decluttering, and that helped so much. So you have to be ready to do the work, or you're going to get stuck and you're going to stay stuck. And your minimalism is whatever it is for whoever you are. It's different for everyone, but you have to be ready to do the work. But just start somewhere.
I have a question, because as you said, there's an emotional component to it. Are there like support groups or resources that people can look at to help with the emotional challenges they have with letting go of things?
Absolutely. So for me, I went to Shoppers Anonymous, right? Because the shopping was causing the clutter. And then I had to, do the minimal, minimize in order to get away from the clutter. So I did the Shoppers Anonymous because I knew I had some trauma there. But I think it's just good old fashioned therapy and counseling. And, I tell, and whoever is on this thread, welcome. But I tell women and women of color and Black women and brown women, go lay on somebody's couch. None of us are perfect. None of us have it all together, but there's always some underlying trauma. There's always something there that we need to speak to, or that we need to get off our chest. And we don't realize that, but it shows up in other places, right? So if you don't do the work, I always do this, do the work, do the work. If you don't do the work, it shows up later. Right. And you'll think, well, that happened when I was 10, but it's going to show up later. It shows up later. Do the work. And there's so many free therapy and counseling and therapists and sliding scales and things like that. If you're a student, you can go to your counseling center for free. But everyone should talk to someone, because there's always work that we need to do. None of us are perfect, and there's always something that we need to do. And then I say all that, knowing whatever your work is, knowing whatever your triggers are, will help you on this minimalism journey, right? Because the clutter, when we're talking about minimalism, is trauma. It really is. So, I mean, and, people may or may not agree, but you're saving and you're holding on to stuff, and you're hoarding things and you're collecting things because there's something going on. You're just not doing it for a hobby. You think you're doing it for a hobby, but you're not. It's something that you're holding on to from something that happened to you. So you have to figure out where that happens. And I always tell people, therapy is like, you're like a little onion, and I don't know if you ever look at an onion under a microscope, but there's so many pieces to keep peeling back, and you can probably peel an onion for hours, because they're, those thin little layers of skin. But that's what therapy is. It peels you back and pulls all these layers back, and then slowly, you mend back, and you pull yourself back together, and you mend yourself back together. But you have to get to the core of what's going on so you can do this journey. Because if you don't, you're not going to be successful in decluttering your life, your affairs, your things in your relationship, your money. You're not going to be successful if you don't do that work. Was that good? I don't know. Was that too much?
No,
I have so much to say about this, so I'm so
no,
sorry.
great. And I'm here for all of it.
Yeah,
So I have a question here on
yeah.
Instagram.
Okay.
What type of trauma causes hoarding? Why do people in general have a hard time letting go of things? Is there a common cause for this behavior?
So I'm going to start by saying I am a social work, but I'm not practicing or diagnosing anyone in this forum. I will say just from the past, a lot of it can be mental health. We find that hoarders, and now I feel like hoarding is falling under a mental health category. I feel like I just read that somewhere. It wasn't when I was in school, but I think hoarding is one of a new diagnosis that falls under mental health. So there could be some issues there. It could be some neuro things going on, right? It could be trauma from being young, like my mom, even before she has dementia, but my mom grew up in the South and poor. And her mom, my grandmother, they were still picking cotton, you know, 90 years ago, and they grew up in Arkansas, and things like that. So they grew up with not much. And she always, she's a retired principal, but she always, which is probably where I got a lot of my stuff from, but we always went to BJ's, we always went to Costco, and it was just she and myself after her and my dad broke up, but it was always her shopping. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, that's really where a lot of it came from. But it was always her shopping because she never had much. And that was her thing. Look, I'm never going to be without. Like growing up, some nights we went to bed and we didn't have anything to eat. That's never going to happen. That's never going to happen to you. And it didn't. I had never missed a meal or anything like that. But I think it's mental health. I think it could be environmental. It could be the way you grew up. You didn't have much. And now that you're able to purchase and have things, you choose to now overindulge. So there's so many aspects of it. And I say this with love, and this is not to hurt anyone, but usually it's always because of some type of trauma. There's something going on because it's not normal to be surrounded by clutter and hoarding. Whatever normal would be. Normal is different to everyone, but that's not what a healthy, let me say that, that's not what a healthy mind or what a healthy person would do, hoard, keep a lot of chaos and stuff around them. So usually it's something going on.
Question, when you were talking about when you've grown up with not much, I know at one point there was conversations about the depression babies, how from growing up during a time when you had to be online just to get toilet paper,
yep.
How it's a reaction to that trauma.
Yeah.
That generation tended to hoard because it was part of their growing up of, you don't know if, when it's going to run out. So get it while you can.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
then recently we started experiencing that in the beginning of COVID. It was like, go get the toilet paper, go get. And I was just curious how much of that could have triggered people again to hoarding, because
Absolutely.
Once again, it may be out in the piers for God knows how long, so get it while you can. Sometimes it's a response to your environment.
Absolutely. And you know what? I also think nobody wants to be without. Right? Nobody wants, I don't want to see you with all those great things and I have nothing. You know what I mean? Like, wow, she has all that, all those perfume bottles over there. I have one over here. I need to get some more perfume bottles. And I could show her, look, I have 4 perfume bottles like you too. So I also think it's one of those things. It could be culture, it could be environment, but you don't want to be without, especially when you see someone with stuff, right? You want to have stuff too. And I think a lot of times we want to flaunt our wealth or our accomplishments and things.
Two different things, because for the depression, it's not so much of stuff like perfume and things. It's about necessities.
Right.
Like when you were saying, wait to the end of having a spice before you get it, that from the depression, you would get 3 or 4 of them because
right.
Right now, they may not have them in the store. So
Absolutely.
I've got to stack up. Because I know even in my own family, my parents went through the depression.
Right.
And that was their whole thing. You always get it in bulk. So that way you don't have to worry, because you don't want to run out of toilet paper. That wouldn't be attractive. You don't want to paper towel. You don't want to run out of your favorite foods.
Right.
So it wasn't so much of keeping up with the Joneses as much as making sure that your basics for survival was always on hand.
Absolutely.
Because you don't know if you can get it again.
Absolutely. It's all those factors, definitely. And I think my mom, my mother, and my parents went through that. My grandparents went through that as well. So I definitely agree with that. It's just environmental and what you have been used to and what you've been around or not been around, right? And you want to make sure that you have what everyone else has. I totally agree.
Someone has a comment on Instagram. I think part of the American culture is about mass production, and that leads to collecting items.
Totally. And, and we are also wasteful. We're a wasteful society, and I'm putting myself in there. I said at the beginning, I'm not perfect and I'm still doing this journey. I'm getting there, but I also think we're wasteful. We get stuff that we don't need, and we need stuff we probably don't even want, and then we discard it and things like that. So I think it's a culture where you look at other countries and things, and they use the last, and they use everything. And like I was saying earlier, they buy things once they deplete whatever the resources that they have at that time. But we don't do that. We're always taught to do Costco's and BJ's and Sam's Club and things like that, and to purchase and buy things that we probably don't need. That's marketing and television. That's if you don't get it, you'll get stuck in that space of hoarding and overbuying and shopping. Are you talking? You're on mute.
Okay, so there's a comment here on Facebook.
Yeah.
As I'm listening to you, I'm taking things out. I'm taking things out as I listen to you. So that's like showing, just how powerful your story is, or your account. And
Always.
someone else says, for some, it's about having some semblance of control over something that's yours, in quotes, when other areas in life are dictated by others and responsibilities, such as jobs, caretaking, etc.
Yes. I agree to that. Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
Oh gosh, okay. Because I have Instagram and Facebook.
No, it's fine. I was looking for my talking points too. It's fine. No, go ahead.
So someone on Instagram said, and this is a good point. I noticed that these storage places are popping up to store the overflow. And I, noticed that. I remember a couple of years ago too, like why there's so many storage places is because the apartments are so small that we don't even have room to store our basic stuff. But that's true. Like, why do we have this storage for all of this extra stuff?
Well, because we're hoarders and we do things in excess. And I'll be honest, although I look at myself as a minimalist in a lot of areas, my dad died about 6 years ago, right? And my right around the time I got a divorce, and then I take care of my mom. So I took on, because I couldn't let go. My dad had a whole house of furniture in Queens. I took on all his stuff. My mom now lives with me. I took on all her stuff. I am that person who's paying for storage right now, and it's all their stuff. A few times a year, I'll go and, post some stuff on Facebook or whatever, and let people come to the storage unit and buy some items. But, like I said, I'm not perfect in all areas of minimalism, but that's why I can't let go, because for me, that's the last piece of my father that I have. And then also kind of my mom, even though my mom is living, she has dementia. So she's, drifting away a little bit each day, but all of that stuff that I feel like they worked so hard for, is in that storage unit that I paid $288 a month for. So it's just, we live in excess, and we want to hold on to things. And that's why those storage places are making a killing. And I also think people are downsizing. I think those that get it and realize, the larger the house, the more the bills are, and electric bills and light bills, and people downsize. But the issue is not downsizing, but not getting rid of anything as you downsize. That's the big issue. I was looking for, I had a talking point here I wanted to share. I can't find it right now.
Someone did have a comment.
Sure.
They want to know if you have any techniques for decluttering the mind.
So I color. I wish I had my coloring book here. I color. I have I should have had all those things. So I bought me some colored markers and some crayons, and I bought some adult coloring books. That helps a lot. I do a lot of music. I'm a huge I call myself a music snob because I love music. I put on my headphones and just sit still, and even though when I come home, from work, or I work remotely, but when I come home sometimes in the evening, I just sit in my car before I even get outside and walk in the house, because I need to take some time and just get my head together. But I think it's whatever it is that brings you joy, right? So for me, it's coloring. For me, it's sitting in my car for about 10 or 15 minutes before I walk in this house. Sometimes I'll get out and walk if it's not too cold or too hot. You would be surprised, even though people are like, oh my God, exercise. And I'm a little juicy. I got a little thick over COVID because I've been in the house so long. But when I get out and walk, there's something medically that releases when you are walking. It's like an endorphin or something. But even if it's a 10-minute walk, you would be surprised how that clears your head. And I'm not a doctor, but it really works. Like, I know that as a fact. It releases, and you almost feel like you're in a high, right? Because you're releasing whatever. But just a 10-minute walk will do wonders. And also, people don't think about this, is take your vitamins. Right? This is not medical advice, but take your vitamins. A lot of people of color are vitamin D deficient, and that's also because of the melanin in our skin blocks the sun. So anytime, or if you're not sure, if you feel sluggish and if you're down and if you feel foggy, a lot of times it's because you have low iron, low magnesium, low vitamin D, you need B12. You'd be surprised if they ran your blood work. A lot of the sicknesses or the way that we feel is related to the mineral deficiencies that we have going on. And I know that firsthand. I take a 10,000 milligrams of vitamin D once a week that I get prescribed from my doctor. My vitamin D was low, and I take magnesium, and I do a B12 sublingual under my tongue from my doctor. All of those minerals were deficient in my lab work about 6 months ago. So a lot of times it's you need your vitamins and supplements, but I'm telling you that 10-minute brisk walk will really get you together. It really will.
That is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. So someone has a comment. They said they have an aunt who is 72, disabled, and is very, very cluttered. And they refuse to give up or clean anything, and it's become very dangerous for them. They keep falling and have to wait for EMS to pick them up. The building manager has tried to speak to them, but they won't listen. She has bled internally and doesn't know where or how it happened. So I guess this is related to the cluttered the cluttered living conditions. So when you have a family member who is older and living with excess clutter, what words would you say to help with that situation?
So we will do the aggressive way. Is you get them out the house. I mean, this is it's you get them out the house and then you send a team in to clean. I've been there too. I've helped I've helped two girlfriends with their parents, and you get them out the house however you get them out. It's great if you can get them out overnight and you get a dumpster or whatever you need to do. You get garbage bags and you move the stuff out. 99% of the time, nothing in the house can be salvaged. So it's not like you have to really think about, oh, they may need this, they may need that. You get them out the house and you do the work. And I'll tell you, you really have to do it because at some point, the Office of Aging, or that's what it's called here in Virginia. But at some point, social services and people will get involved, and you really can be brought up on charges, especially if you are a guardian or someone who is, looking after them, or close to kin that has those close ties to them. You don't want to be in trouble. Hate to say the word like that, but you know what I mean? You don't want to be responsible for that, but they're not going to let you do it. They're going to fight you the whole time. You have to remove them from the space and then just get the stuff out. There really is no other way, because they're not going to let you do anything, and get the stuff out, and you bring them back in and they're going to be upset. They're going to scream. My girlfriend's mother cursed us all out and all of that stuff. And she kind of went back a little bit, but it wasn't like it was before. It was totally not like it was before. And she thanked us months later, but you have to get them out so you can just clean up. That's the only way, because they're not going to let you do it while they're there. I wanted to say, I was looking for a talking point right quick, and I found it. So I was going to say that a lot of times clutter sneaks up on you, right? And just looking at one of my talking points and some places where I wanted to clean up. Remember, I told you I had almost $30,000 in debt. Clutter sneaks up in subscriptions. So remember that I was getting Ebony magazine and decorating magazines, Oprah magazine. Just by cutting those things out, I think I saved almost $60, however, a year, or $70 a year from all those things. But remember, anytime you have reoccurring charges, clutter sneaks up in those things. So I have Verizon. I don't know if you all know this, and I don't know if it's still a promotion. If you have Verizon Wireless, you get Hulu, ESPN, Disney, and I think Apple Music for free. You have to have Verizon cell phone, be on a plan. I get all those for free. I was paying for Hulu. I was paying for Apple Music. I was paying for Disney for the kids, so on and so forth. So remember, when we talk about decluttering, and remember, again, I'm always going to put emphasis on decluttering finances, because that was the first part of my declutter. But remember, the chaos or the clutter comes to you in different spaces. So think about things like that. So if you don't know where to start, and if starting with finances is your thing, think about where your money is going. I would take a sheet of paper and just write down every bill that you pay every month, everything that you write a check for or send a payment to, write that down, and you would be surprised of where your money and stuff is going out the window. So keep that in mind, that clutter it hides in different spaces as well. Something else here too. Abina, I think you're on mute. If you're speaking, I think you're on mute.
Yes. So someone had asked, and this is a great point. Someone on Instagram says, have you applied feng shui to your home environment? And because I was also at the second place, kind of going to ask Nefakara if she had any suggestions, like from a holistic standpoint, as she is a holistic life coach as well, if she had anything holistic minded in terms of this topic of decluttering.
Yes, so I do. And I actually was studying to be more of a feng shui expert, or I do. And subtle things, like we have a small water fountain by the front door. I do the feng shui piece, whatever it is that keeps you grounded, right? So nothing under the bed, the energy. I don't have the bed facing the door. I don't have a mirror facing my bed, but I love feng shui, but I'm always into the part of the feng shui that keeps you grounded and keeps your energy flowing, right? There's so many other things that you can do within that feng shui piece, but I'm really big on the part with the energy and the positive energy and, you know, whatever it is for health, wealth, and prosperity. But please, I refer to you and you speak to that, please, and you can probably definitely elaborate more than me.
Well, I think as you had said before, a lot of it also comes from within, because your environment is really a reflection of the chaos from within.
Oh, yeah.
And the more that you do things to ground and center yourself, so as you were saying, like if you do like a mindful nature walk, especially like, I know sometimes, even though it's been chilly, the most profound I had one day when I was going through a lot is that I live in the Bronx, and there's Orchard Beach not far from us. And a friend of mine made me get up, and we went to the beach around sunrise. Nice. And we walked on the cold beach in our bare feet, but because I knew the sparkling of the sand was quartz crystals, and realizing that, because originally had their shoes on, I said, well, that defeats the purpose. And doing it barefoot,
wow,
just like the clear quartz was used electromagnetically and electronic,
right.
Our body is energy, is frequency, and walking. And then we did basic yoga poses. And it was profound, because usually, we do it in the comfort of our room and apartments and our houses and stuff.
Right.
Being in alignment with the sunrise and realizing that a lot of the meditative postures, that the sun actually shines on your crown chakra, then on your first eye, and all the way down, and to just breathe and then just feel releasing everything into the earth. And rebalancing yourself. And you could do that on the beach. You can do that in a real park, not a city park with all the toxics.
Right, of course.
Talking about deficiencies and needing supplements, the best way to get vitamin D is from the sun.
From the sun.
Because your body doesn't really absorb all those other things as effectively. And especially during COVID, when everybody was told to stay indoors, that's why you see so much of this emotional imbalance, because we're usually disconnected from that, which is going to balance and empower our immune system and our mental wellness in such a profound way. And most of this, like they haven't figured out how to charge you to stand on Earth yet. They haven't figured out how to charge you to just be in nature.
Right.
You might have to do it for a fancy state park, but they have enough, open nature spaces wherever you are in the country to just go and be.
Right.
As you walk around, to be present with the trees and to see which one energetically resonates with you, to really look around to see what herbs are growing, because different times of the year, but also the fact that people don't realize we just had the winter solstice, and the earth, just like your heartbeat expands and contracts, the earth expands and contracts. And from summer to winter, it's like the contraction of the heart, but it's in slower motion because the earth is a lot bigger than us as a person. We're the only living being that during the time that the energy is contracting and going into its weakest point, want to go out and party and hang out and act crazy, versus the animals, the plants, everything else goes into hibernation to rest and reflect. During this time of year, if we're reflecting on what we want to do in the next year, and as you said, beginning to release during the full moon, is the time to be releasing stuff, because also when we're more in tune with nature and working in sync with nature and reconnecting, learning those things, we're no longer fighting against ourselves. We're in sync. The whole thing of, you have these New Year's resolutions, and how come they go so fast? It's because we act on them too quickly. During the winter time, it's time to reflect on. And as you said, to really look around, what do I need to release? Come up with a game plan. Do I need to have some friends over? Do I need to identify where I can donate it to? But to have a plan, but to allow yourself this time to reflect. When spring comes and your energy is now beginning to blossom, just like life blossoms in the spring, the plants come back to life, the animals are coming out of hibernation, that's the time to take action on things. So part of it also is, as we reconnect, people always think I'm crazy. It's like when you go for nature work, when you find a tree that you resonate with, like I'm at my age, I don't care what people think. So I might hug it, whatever, however I feel. But even if you just lean against it so your spine is up against the trunk, because we are energy fields. People have heard of chakras, your central one, and then you have all the meridians. So does a tree, so does the earth. So if you align your chakras along your spine with the central spine of the trunk of a tree, and just put your feet, on the earth, and just breathe and just be present and just feel the breeze, hear the nature. It will help to quiet your mind.
I love that.
As you had said, a quiet mind can then quiet your environment. But if you're trying to do all that and your mind is all over the place, you're fighting against yourself instead of.
Are.
So holistically, and as you said, even with food, we've got to go back to eating real food. Most of our food should be fresh fruits and vegetables. If you're eating something that's processed, you need to read the ingredients. People read the propaganda. It's all natural. All natural what? Dog crap is natural, but I wouldn't eat that.
Yeah.
Have natural flavors. What's a natural flavor? Dr. Layla Africa used to say all the time, if you can't identify it, neither can your body. And it's going to store it as arthritis, as cysts and fibroids, hypertension, inflammation all over the place.
Wait, can you say that again? If you can't identify,
if your body can't identify what you put in your mouth, like it's processed mystery soup, it will store it in your joints, which is called arthritis. It's inflammation. Fibroids, cysts, hypertension, diabetes, all of it is inflammation in your body because it's agitating your system. And as a response, your lymphatic system creates fluid around things, trying to cushion it, trying to do damage control.
That's right.
When you start eating, you don't have to read ingredients for an apple. You don't have to read an ingredients for a carrot. And the other thing is eating within seasons. People looking for watermelon in the middle of winter. During wintertime, because the energy is deep into the earth, you need root vegetables because that's where all the nutrients are. Sweet potatoes, carrots, turnips, those type of things. So as you eat within the seasons, because you're supposed to eat for energy, we do it, as you said, we do things recreational. It's got to taste good, look good, and, artificial dyes, your tongue is now blue, but so what? Those should be telling you something. And then we wonder why our mind is all over the place.
Yeah.
Go back to eating real food, and it's getting harder and harder because due to genetically modified and everything else. I was telling people, and I know I'm dating myself, back in my day, if somebody cut a piece of garlic, first of all, garlic was like the tip of your pinky, but you could smell it all over the house. Now it's, as big as your whole pinky, and you don't smell a thing because it's no longer from it being, but the more we can go back to basics, and even, I live in an apartment, but even then you could still grow some of the herbs. They have all type of ways to do it. The more we go back to that and begin to identify herbs and stuff in our parks and stuff. These days they have, what is it called? The things you put on the phone, the little different things that people use to, like Instagram has one.
The filters?
No, not filters. The things you click on and you can use them for different things.
Oh, the stylist?
No.
I don't know.
Like you have one for, it'll come to me. But anyway, you can get some that show you how to identify plants in the wilderness. And when you use it, you can take a picture of it and it'll tell you what it is.
Oh, like the different apps. Got it.
Thank you. Okay. And it was an A word, but I couldn't remember which A word.
Got it. Mm.
So you look at different apps, but then you also get books on herbs, because sometimes the apps make a mistake. But from that, you can look in the book and to see, so that you see, oh, this is an actual edible herb, and this is actually good for digestion. This is good for your memory, like control over something. So the more that we reconnect and remember, because our ancestors were within nature, and that's why they were so balanced. You know, we were saying before with dementia, once ago, people be in their 90s and 100s and be clear as a bell, no arthritis, and doing their thing. Now dementia's becoming younger and younger, because if our brains aren't being fed correct foods, and it's being inflamed by processed sugar, by processed salt, by fake foods, by, you know, mystery meats and everything else, and then we wonder why our brains aren't working right. And then it's like, take 2 of these and call me in the morning, versus, okay, I need to get rid of this salt and sugar. I need to stop doing fast, fake everything and go back to basics. I've had younger people, you know, I was a professional forever, and professionals these days was, oh, you cook from scratch? You know, I order in, you know, I don't have time for that, you know? And it's like, so that's saying you don't have time to your most sacred part, your body. Your body is a sacred temple.
I agree.
We treat our cars better than we treat our bodies. We'll put premium gas in our car. We wouldn't put processed sugar in it, but we're going to put that in our bodies, which is really more important. You can get another car. You can't get another body. You screw that up.
It's over. Yep.
So that's just my very brief, extended explanation of that.
Thank you so much for that. And it's interesting because someone asks, would you apply feng shui and those other principles to your home environment?
Absolutely, because that's what helps to balance it. That's part of being in sync with nature. Feng shui was actually even before, Dr. Africa wrote a book called The Per Ankh, P-E-R, new word, A-N-K-H. And it talks about how even the alignment of the buildings, how all of that, again, was in sync with the energies. There are energy vortexes that are throughout the whole geography of this earth. And feng shui is really helping to align your household with those energies. So again, it's in sync with the flow of energy versus in conflict with it. You know, if you have like little cactuses by the front door, by certain windows, it helps it. When you have, I mean, people tell you I'm the crystal queen. You have black stones like tourmaline and obsidian on the windows, you know, so that it's deflecting a lot of the 5G and everything, electromagnetic frequencies. You should have that around your computers. You should have that on you to help to cut down on it. Just because you can't see the energies and the negative doesn't mean it's not affecting you. You know, we go for x-rays all the time. You can't see it, but you can see the pictures of it. So feng shui is very important. You know, you don't have to be as elaborate, but just to even learn the basics so that you get a sense, as you were sharing before, where to place your bed. Where to place other things, what not to have in your room. Like, for example, most of us have our computers and our TVs and everything in our bedroom. If you can't move it, at least put like a fabric or something over the screen at night. And people want to fall asleep by that. I don't think go old school. If you have a hard time sleeping, that's actually agitating your nervous system.
Right.
You need to do old school and read an actual physical book, or do like a word puzzle, but something that's not on a screen where you're being bombarded by all of that. And as you said, certain plants do certain things, certain crystals do certain things. Also, the time that you eat, because feng shui isn't even just about how you set up your household. It's being in rhythm with everything. You know, when you first wake up in the morning, you should be breaking your fast with fresh fruit. You shouldn't be eating after like 6 or 7 o'clock at night. Because now you're eating at a time when your body is trying to digest food. So now it's on overtime. And then you wonder why you can't sleep well, or you have indigestion, or you're storing extra body fat because what are you doing? Your heaviest meal should be at noontime when the sun is at its strongest. and you're at your most active, so you're burning it off. Your lightest meal should be at night because you're winding down for the day. So feng shui isn't even just for your environment, it's for how you align yourself, period.
You mentioned earlier about not having anything under the bed, because I was just thinking about getting a platform bed. So you should buy a bed where there's no like storage space or anything beneath it.
So it's just blocking the energy, right? If you're storing shoes and things under your bed, technically you want the energy to flow right around you so you can rest well. But if you have stuff under the bed, that energy is stagnant. And you're not going to have a good night's rest or be able to do anything, in the room, because the energy is not, a fresh, clean, moving energy. You want, everything is about being fluid. So, but if you have shoes blocking it, or, whatever storage under the bed blocking it, no, you stop the energy from flowing. That's all.
You can keep like a bowl of water at times under your bed, like by the head of your bed, underneath the bed, because that helps with dreams.
Mm-hmm.
It helps to capture a lot of the negativity. You can use certain natural rocks and crystals like selenite or black stones, because again, it helps to neutralize negativity. So if you're having like a hard time sleeping or a lot of bad dreams or something, it helps in terms of rebalancing the energy.
Right.
But as Tammy said, that you don't use it as another storage bin, because that's just adding clutter to your whole energy, because it's congested.
Right. And also the minimalism piece too. Remember, minimalism is simplicity. Minimalism is, getting rid of or simplifying. So if you're using areas in your bedroom, especially where you sleep, for storage and excess stuff, then there will be no rest. You're not going to get rest in your room.
Thank you. So we're going to the question of, how do you get started? It's the end of December. People want to have a new start. People have been saying for months that they want to have a new start. They don't want to bring some old stuff into the new year. I know no one else says that. That's just me talking. But so how do you do that? What is the first, what's the first step? Like, ABC, what's the first step?
I think the first step is identifying what is bringing you chaos. Identify what's being stressful. Remember, I go back to my finances. For me, it was finances, right? So you have to figure out, what is it that I need that's driving me crazy every time I walk past it. And then you just start there. That's the first thing. So identifying where you need to start, and then just doing it. But just do it in little baby steps, because what you don't want to do is become overwhelmed and then you stop. Because I told you, I've been on this for years. Start, stop, start, stop. Life happens, stop, start. So you just, do it for 10 or 15 minutes a day. 10 or 15 minutes a day. I'm going to clean out this junk drawer. I am going to do this. Start with your socks. We all know that we're missing socks. We all know we're not going to find that other match. Start with something like that. It's almost like when you have a checklist and you get to, when you cross something off the checklist or put the little check mark, you're like, ooh, I finished that for today. Start with stuff like that. If you have 20 pairs of socks and you have 10 of them are single socks, more than likely you're not going to find those socks. So start there. Pair up with your socks, or, your underwear that have the holes, or whatever it is that you think that needs to be simplified or decluttered and things like that. I have another one of my vices was, I like new towels, and I don't know why, but I like towels and fluffy towels. If they got matted, I would get rid of them. But I found that a lot of animal shelters always need sheets and blankets and pillowcases and pillows and stuff like that. So all of that extra linen that I had, so much linen, I end up taking it to animal shelters. So start with whatever you have excess of, and you want to minimize that. So identify where you want to begin. Figure out what doesn't bring you joy, and those are things that you want to start getting rid of. And then you just give yourself, do 15 minutes at a time. I found myself doing this as a grown old woman. I do this. I'll say, because there's still some areas. I have a storage unit that I still try to go through every once in a while and look at my parents' stuff. And I'll say, I'm going to this storage unit, and I've done it. I'm going to remove 20 things today. And after I remove 20 things, I'm going home. And I'll go in there and I'll go through a box and I'll sort through 20 things, whether if that's just to throw those away or to donate them or to put them somewhere because I'm going to keep them. And I'm plugging away at it, but that also helps. Give yourself a time limit, set a timer, or give yourself an amount. There are 10 things that I'm going to remove from my house today. I'm going to put these 10 things in this bag, and I'm going to get in my car, or however you do it, or when I leave for work in the morning, walk out and put them in a garbage bin or drop them in a Salvation Army bin. So start, identify where you need to start, give yourself a timer or count however many things you want to remove, and then just do it. Just do it, but do it in small pieces so you don't overwhelm yourself.
Okay. And so for the people who, and I know we kind of touched on this earlier, people who just really have a hard time just letting go because, oh, the minute I let it go, I'll need it again, or, I'll have to replace it, or I just can't let go. Yes. How would you address that?
Get a friend. Remember, so any one of us on this platform today can probably go to each other's house and declutter everybody's house. Your friends are not attached to your stuff, right? And there's two things you can do it. I trust my friends. I have lifelong friends. When I was moving, like I said, I had one. I said, just go into the bathroom. I'm not going in the bathroom. If you think I need it, you keep it. And again, you don't even remember. And my girlfriend came out almost 2 hours later with these bins and garbage bags. I still don't know what was in the garbage bags. The bathroom was done. So I think if you grab a friend who's not attached, maybe you remove yourself from that space and let those friends do what they do. But I think that's the quickest way. Or even children, if you have young people in your lives, like my kids throw everything away. And I'm not saying you have to throw everything away, but there's no value. Mom, we don't need this. Mom, you need to donate that. Mom, we don't need that from Papa, things like that. But I think people that are not attached to your things can help you get through the process so much faster. That's just my opinion. And that's what's worked for me. Invite your friends over. They'll get through it quickly. I have a quick story. My girlfriend's mom died, and we went to her house to kind of clean up and look for insurance policies and stuff. And I tell the story to everyone. She said when her mom was dying, she said, my silver box is up in the closet on the right-hand side. Her mom was a minimalist. We were able to go in that house and find everything and where it was. She really lived a minimalist lifestyle, because I said, I don't want to have to go in your mom's house and go through her panty drawer and do all those things. She said, no, my mom didn't live like that. And she had everything together. And that worked out so great for my girlfriend, because she was somebody who's always very stressful and gets anxiety. So also think about your children, right? If you leave this earth, or family members, you want people to be able to go in and find things and policies or whatever it is, money, jewelry, without having that stress. And that meant so much. And I always say that's something that I want to leave to my children. If something happens to me, I don't want them going through my stuff. I don't want people going through my panty drawer. I don't want all that stuff. I want things to be where they're supposed to be so people can move in and do what they need to do. We packed her house up. Her mom lived in Parkchester. We packed her house up in a day and a half. And it really wasn't half a day. The half of day was waiting for people to come pick out, the things that they wanted. We told her friends, you can come get their furniture and stuff. But her house was so, immaculate, and it was so simple, and things were where they were. It was such an easy, it was not pleasant because it was a death involved, but it was such a pleasure to work through that process, because it wasn't stressful like how it was with my parents. Like, I still have the storage unit because I just have all their stuff. So think about your family members and your children. Don't leave them with chaos. You know, it's not fair. And then that may trigger something for them, right? Because like I said, my girlfriend has anxiety and things like that. Had her mother had left the house any other way, that would have been triggering for her. But it was such a wonderful experience to go in and do what we needed to do, and where everything was in its place and organized and clutter free. It really made it a pleasant experience for her and for me helping.
What would you say about paper clutter? Paper clutter and the
Oh,
infamous junk drawer. The
oh my
infamous junk
gosh.
drawer.
And I don't have any of this stuff next to me. Get a scanner. I have a scanner. I wish I should have had all this stuff in front of me. I have a scanner, and what I do with my papers, I just scan them and I save them to I don't have that in front of me either. I have a terabyte, like a hard drive. It's big, almost like a cell phone. It has 2 terabytes. So I scan everything and put it on the hard drive. And that's it. So I have very little paper. Even the children's, I do have a couple of folders where I keep the kids' immunization records in case they need it for school, and birth certificates. But for the most part, 90% of all my paperwork, I have put it in a scanner, and have saved it to, I wish I had it, and save it to a hard drive. And that eliminates paper. What was the other thing you asked about?
The junk drawer.
Junk drawer, you got to go through it. So now that's something that there's 2 ways to clean a junk drawer. And those are the 2 things I mentioned earlier. Either give yourself a timer. I'm going to give myself 15 minutes to get rid of this, or count. You know what? This junk drawer is horrific. I'm going to remove 15 things from this drawer today. I'm going to work on this junk drawer for 3 days. And each day I'm going to remove 10 items. So that way you're like, oh, and you see the progress. Remember, if you don't see the progress, you get discouraged. But I would give myself a timer, and just whatever you can do. And when you're done, when that timer is up, you close the drawer and you move on to something else. Don't overexert yourself, because you'll stop yourself and you won't continue. The process with minimalism and being wanting simplicity, is you have to keep going. It's fluid. You got to keep going. Don't stop, because when you stop, the clutter comes back. You get discouraged and you're right back where you started. So or if you can do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to work on this junk drawer, and give yourself a timer. And when you're done, you stop and you go and do something else.
Oh, I know when you break it down like that, it makes it more manageable. It makes it seems like it really is something that can be managed, that is not just a big mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know you kept saying that you have talking points, and I just keep finding some other
Yes,
questions.
yes.
So when I created this a post announcing that you would be speaking, I used one of the images about about debt and financial clutter. Um, and I know early in the beginning you did touch on finances, but how is how are finances clutter also?
Well, it's clutter because, so remember, when you asked me what was my definition of minimalism, I said anything that causes chaos, right? Minimalism is it's whatever it is you want to have, to be simple and simplistic. So chaos for me is the opposite of minimalism. For me, my chaos was money. My chaos is paying bills or not being able to pay bills, or having overlapping balances. So the clutter was what drove me crazy. For somebody else, it may be clothes. Like, oh my God, I have all this stuff. I know you were working on a room and trying to declutter a room, and that was your thing. It's just different for everyone. So for me, minimalism started with my money. I was $30,000 in debt from just buying stuff. And I had to figure out how to get from under that. So it took me a year, but I cleared $30,000. I'm actually debt free now. I don't have zero debt. I do have an American Express card. But the great thing about that is I pay it off at the end of the month, but I don't carry debt, because when I carry debt, when I have an overlapping balance, it drives me crazy, like crazy. So that's why finances for me was my minimalism journey, the beginning of it, because I had to get from under the debt. So, and like I said, there were things, I sold things. We didn't eat out for a year, and just things like that. And so that's what I had to do. Oh, I will say that with the finances, and this is a cheat, everyone may not be able to do it. I did do a piece of it. I took a small loan out for my 401k, just a small loan, because to pay down some debt, because I was living off of 50% of my paycheck. And that was hard, but I actually did it. So my salary, I would take my half of my paycheck, and of course put it back and save it, and the other half is what I paid my debt down with. So that was really, really difficult, but it really helped me knock a lot of my debt out. I really, really knocked out almost $30,000 in less than a year. There's a book called The Automatic Millionaire, and it's a very thin book. It's a really good read. It may have 50 pages. I don't think it has 100 pages, but it's a thin book, but it's such a powerful book because it speaks to you about saving, kind of getting out of debt, but how to become a millionaire. And it's not something crazy. It gives different scenarios. Like there was a woman in there that made $40,000 a year, and she was a millionaire in 2 years or something like that. But it just talks to you about saving. And like I said, living, living off of half of your salary, and staying out of debt, and so on and so forth. So the money for me was my issue, because that's what caused me not to be able to sleep at night. Like I would wake up like, oh God, I need to pay this. Oh, did I pay this? But if I pay this, I can't do that. So everyone's journey is different. The thing that haunts me is money, is bills and money. That haunts me.
Yes, you may have to come back again and talk about because
that's okay, I will.
That is absolutely, as you're talking, I'm like, then, accountability. And I would love to be able to, go through a process like that and come out on the end and say, yeah, I was scared, but I did it.
But you did it.
Yeah.
It's work. It's work though. But remember, I cheated. I told you there were cheat things. I sold I sold 3 Louis Vuitton bags, some designer bags, and I'll be upfront. I got almost $5,000 from them. Old vintage bags that my mom had, and I sold a Gucci bag. So that's what jump started the 30,000. So if I have to be transparent and really honest, so let's say it was about 30,000 in debt. The bags brought me down about 5,000, right? So really it was about 28,000 in debt. So you take 5,000 away from that. So really it was 23,000. Then I sold a lot of stuff that brought me like another 4,000. So now I'm at 19,000 or something like that. So that's how I was able to knock out the 30,000 in debt within a year. Right. And then of course, just changing the way we were eating out and things like that. But those were the little cheats. I also, at the very end, that last 5,000, because my goal in my head was, I'm knocking this debt out in 12 months. I have to. And when I got down to like that 11th month, I took a small loan. I think it was $2,500 for my 401k, and knocked out the rest of it. The rest of my debt I knocked out from the 401k loan, and then I paid myself back through payroll. But those were my little cheats that I did. But nevertheless, I've knocked out $30,000 in debt in a year, because it haunts me even to this day. It haunts me, payment plans and those types of things. It's just my weird thing with me. I don't like debt. I don't like carrying debt over. And so I'm always going to start with the decluttering of the money.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about having you come back to talk strictly about decluttering finances.
Mm-hmm.
Someone has a question here. This is a good question. In terms of decluttering paperwork, what about children's schoolwork? They don't know what to do with it. It's just a stack of papers to practice working on. Do I keep it? And also artwork. Do you keep the children's artwork?
No. I do have some things. I do have some things that I have framed. But for the most part, I'm telling you, I scan everything. If I could scan my kids, I would. That scanner that I bought, it's in the other room. I scan all my paper artwork, and it's long. It'll let you do, legal size, and then regular, 8x10, and then 11x14 or whatever have you. And I scan everything. I scan everything and just save it on a hard drive. If I ever felt like I needed to print their artwork, I'll find it in the scanner and print it out. But the things that they really did that I really, really love, I have framed them. I've gotten a frame and, hung them on the wall, and then it's preserved forever. Another thing I wanted to say, people get caught up with pictures, and I'm probably dating myself, but I had a lot of pictures. I had a tub of pictures. I purchased 2 digital frames, and I put, one of them held about 300 pictures. I had a huge plastic tub, with just nothing but photos. But the 2 digital frames probably stored about 600 pictures in them. So, a digital frame looks like a picture frame. You sit it on a mantle or whatever, and you load the your hard drive in it, like a USB hard drive, and then your pictures will just switch out every 3 seconds. And that's how we were able to, and then I was able to get rid of the pictures. So got rid of all the pictures and threw them on the hard drive, and they go into a picture frame. So artwork, no, I don't. I hate to say it, but a few pieces I keep, but for the most part, no. And then, like I said, I do have a folder with the kids' immunizations, with birth certificates. I have my parents' birth certificates. I have a little office. I have a little desk with a filing cabinet, but that's it. That's it. Oh, what is that noise? So yeah, that's what I do. I don't know what that noise is.
What were some of your other talking points?
I think it was just I mentioned that about the let me see, so the selling the stuff, those types of things. I think, borrowing from the 401k, if you ever got to that point where you needed a little bit more support. I think that was it. I think I covered most of it with the talking points. I was looking, but I think I covered most of them. Sure. Clutter brings chaos.
Yes, people are still joining.
Oh gosh, good.
No, because I guess it's a very relevant topic.
Oh, another thing is, this is another talking point. I hunkered down with the last 20K. I also used, my tax return. That was another piece of cheating. I took my tax return and I put that down on my debt as well. Because remember, I told you I had to declutter, and the debt was one of those issues. So my clutter also began with debt, but I was able to put, anytime I would get a tax refund. Well, that year I got a tax refund. I put that down, and that reduced a lot of my debt as well. So those are like those little types of cheats that you can do, because people always like 30,000 in a year, but that's how I did it. That's how I was able to do it. Oh my gosh, what is that? Uh-oh, are you there?
Yes. So, do you have any upcoming classes?
No, you said upcoming classes?
Yes.
No. I just, if people are willing to do the work and to get help, I'll help them. What is that noise? If people, I will help them. I don't, you can send me a DM. You can send me a DM or whatever have you, and I'll help people, but I don't really have a class, because I wish I had someone to help me and support me. So no, just DM me if there's, but you have to, only thing I request is be ready to do the work, because it's a lot. You have to be ready to do the work, or you're wasting your time, you're wasting my time. But if you need pointers and support, just send me a message and we'll try to work through it. I'll give you homework, and I'll ask you to send me pictures so I can see where you are. But other than that, you know, we'll just work through it together.
Any question in the chat?
Was there? I think there is a question in the chat.
Oh, yeah, yes, there is.
Let's see. Let me look for it. Do you want me to read it? The 3 steps to begin to decluttering. I think we went over that one. I think you just, just start.
Okay, the second one with fear.
Okay. Am I the only one that hears that back noise, or is that just me?
I can hear it too. Do you want me to mute it?
Yeah, it sounds like, I wonder, are we being hacked or something? I don't know.
Oh.
You know, that happens.
It was under, I thought it was you because it was under your name.
I see that. And I'm thinking, what does that mean? But no, this is me right here. I see that. No, get rid of that one.
Okay.
Okay, so we talked about that, the 3 things, just start and count down and give yourself a timer. What about the fear of releasing?
Yes. You are not wanting to get rid of anything.
You know, and that's one of the things I said. I think it's important for everyone to understand where their trigger points are, and counseling and you know, speak to someone, because you're always going to have that, but you can't let that hold you back from moving on. It's something that's going to happen. Everyone has their own vice. Everyone has something that they're afraid of and what they're scared of, and so on and so forth. But you just have to do it. You just have to do it. And that's where I said you have to start somewhere, and you just let go. Like I said, you bring a friend over who's not committed or who's not attached to anything that you have, and from that point you'll be able to maybe get through the work and do what you need to do. But for the most part, you just do it. Like Nike says, you just get in and you just do it. Don't worry about the fear of releasing. It's a real thing, but you have to get it done. You have to get it done. So you know, you just jump in. And if you can't do it on yourself, then you find an accountability partner, you know, and that would be a friend or whoever it is. You find someone to help you get through it, but you can't worry about that, or you're going to be stuck with clutter and you'll end up being a hoarder and be stressed and all this other stuff. Just do it. There's nothing to be scared of. You just have to start. That's the thing. You have to start somewhere.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. I see it's just after 9 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
And my battery's running low.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I am so excited. Thank you all for just even giving me this opportunity. And I hope that it has helped someone. And again, if anyone needs any help or support, you can reach out to me. I'll do what I can remotely, but I'm here.
What's the best way to reach you?
I'm on Facebook under Tam Collins Rawlerson, Tam, Tam Collins, Rawlerson, or my Instagram name is Pink Ice. You can reach me that way. But if you want me to help you, and like I said, I'll tell you to send me some pictures and what area are we working on, and I'll tell you to send me pictures every day to see where we are. We can do that. I'm not charging for that. I just want to help people because I know that helps declutter the mind. So whatever I can do to help, I am here to help you. Just reach out to me.
Any websites?
You know, we're in this Facebook group, Black Girl Minimalism. There's a Becoming a Minimalist website. There's so many things. You can Google minimalism and all these types of things will come up. But I do say, and I challenge everyone on here, and this is your homework assignment, figure out what brings joy and what brings chaos, right? Like I said, I like shoes, I like boots. So maybe having one pair of shoes for me may not work. But there's things I didn't need 57 pillows. So now I have 6. So you have to figure out what is it that brings you the most stress. And that's where you start. right? And that makes it easy too, because it's stressful and you want to eliminate that stress. So those are my tips. So my challenge to you is figure out the part that doesn't spark joy for you anymore, and the areas in your life or in your home or at work or in relationships that frustrate you and give you anxiety and makes you stress out. That's where you should begin.
So what would you say we could do on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day to kind of start the decluttering journey?
Clean out your emails. I'm not going to tell you I had 85,000 emails. I'm not going to tell you that. Start with declutter things that you can do easy and you can mark them off your list. Declutter your emails. Like, you know how people have a lot of emails, and declutter your social media. Go through your social media accounts and clean those things up. And then start in the kitchen. The kitchen is where if people want to start with things and not money, I always tell people start in the kitchen, right? Like I think 19 spoons and we're a family of 3. Really? So we're a family of 4 now with my mom. But just those types of things. Anything that's mismatched. I never know how to say it. Is it mixed match or mismatch? Anything that's mismatched, get rid of that. Just that's a quick thing too. The socks, if you have 6 plates and they're all blue and one is purple, maybe get rid of the purple plate, just things like that. Start with anything that doesn't fit or doesn't have a match. And then maybe start in the kitchen too. You may have some pots that are rusty, or pot that the handle is broke on, and you're always scared it's going to drop when you're cooking. Start there, because the kitchens are generally smaller and you can get through that. And if you don't feel like throwing stuff out, if you feel it's hard to release, put it in a bag and take it to Goodwill, because someone can always use it for something.
Okay, that's really, really good advice also. So there's a question here. Someone had a question. Oh, yes, your Instagram is Pink Ice. Yes, someone said, what's the Instagram?
Pink Ice 1099. Mm-hmm.
Pink Ice 1099.
Yes.
Okay. And someone had a question here about bankruptcy, since you were talking about finances.
Mm-hmm.
So they said that they filed for bankruptcy, and they wanted to know how it would impact them.
I filed for bankruptcy too, early on, years ago. Bankruptcy, it depends. Well, either way, it's going to affect you for 7 years, whether if you do a chapter 7 or a chapter 11. I was able to do a chapter 7, which basically wipes away everything. This was while I was still married, though, and got in debt afterwards. But it's going to affect you for 7 years. However, that 7th year, everything drops off. You'll start getting offers in the mail probably in year 1 or year 2, and be very careful that you don't get back in debt. After that, pick one credit card and stick to that, and you pay that down each month. But, bankruptcy is not always a bad thing, but you just have to make sure you're ready to do it, because if you have a car, they may or may not repossess the car. If you have a home, they generally won't take the home, but sometimes it'll put you in a different bracket with your interest rates and things like that. But for the most part, people use that as a tool to get ahead. I mean, our last president did it several times with his businesses, and he seemed to benefit from it. But it's not a bad thing. But I would say speak to an attorney. A lot of the attorneys will speak to you at no charge. So speak to an attorney about it. But I know plenty of people that have used that for a fresh start. But there are, some, I think that the positives outweigh the negatives, but there are some things that really could impact you, though. Abina, are you talking? You're on mute. Oh.
If someone is like dangerously close to being a hoarder and someone wants to do an intervention, is that advised?
Absolutely, it's advised, but you're not going to get anywhere, right? Because remember, we talked earlier that hoarding is a mental illness. It has a lot to do with your mental health. So the only way that you can do an invention or help that hoarder is to remove that hoarder from the space, and people just move in and clean. A hoarder is not going to let you touch anything. I know my mother. A hoarder is not going to let you touch their stuff. A hoarder thinks everything that's in the house is useful for them. So the best thing you can do is move them out that space for 24, 48 hours and just clean it up and throw stuff out. But remember, you have to get a grip on it, because if you don't, that's when CPS and all those social services and all those folks come into play, and you don't want that either. So that's something you have to move in quickly on.
I have a question. Suppose the clutter is related to grieving of a partner, or the empty nest syndrome, those type of things, where they're holding on to things to fill the void of emotional emptiness of their partner or their children or whatever.
So you get someone, I always say lean on an accountability partner. You get a treasure box, or you get a treasure small suitcase, and you save some things, right? Maybe their favorite shirt, or, the letters that they would write, or, that whatever it is, but you can't save everything. So if there's some things that you feel like you can't get rid of, but some things like, well, if I just kept these 4 things, or if I kept these 10 things in this little treasure box and put it at the top of my closet, that's okay. That's okay. But it really is no different, right? Because we know that grieving is, it's different for everyone in the different stages. But if it turns into that being a hoarder, and you're moving into that space, that still borderlines the mental health piece too. You know what I mean? So it can cross over really quickly. So that's the issue.
In those cases, would they need to go for counseling in tandem with doing the decluttering?
Yes, I recommend counseling all the time. Even if you think you are perfect, I recommend counseling, because there's always something. We all have our stuff. And I think counseling is important for everybody. You'll go to counseling and they'll just say, "How are you?" And you'll fall out crying. That happened to me, because I was like, "I'm fine," and just fell out. And we sat there and I cried for 10 minutes. So you don't know. So listen to this one. We know this one. You don't know what you don't know until you don't know that you don't know it, right? So go to counseling, because there may be some stuff there that you're not even recognizing yet. But I think anytime, if it has to do with grieving, you pick some items, 5 items, 6 items, 10 items, whatever it is, and you get a shoebox if it fits in there, or a little suitcase, or a little trunk, and you hold on to those things there, but you have to let everything else go. So you pick and choose and allow, or also you can give things to family. When my dad died, my sister gave all of his jackets to my nephew, her son. He liked his leather jackets, his little leather blazers. So we didn't want to hold on to him, but he wears them too. So, things like that. He wasn't a drinker, but he used to collect really nice little glasses and little flasks and stuff like that. His best friend wanted that. So we gave all that stuff to him, and he loves it. He has it on a mantle in his house. But those are the things. Give some family members may want things, have a little open house, and come get, after you pick out, your things, come get whatever you want, whatever, will help you get through this memory of our lost one. But you got to get rid of it, because it moves into the hoarding space really quickly. Mm-hmm. Let me see. Was there any questions? I think we're.
I'm scrolling through because I've got more people who've joined. I'm just scrolling through.
And I didn't write no. That's so weird. I feel like we were hacked, because I see my name and someone wrote no. I never wrote no. I wonder where we hacked it.
In the chat?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yep. That wasn't me. I saw that. But yeah.
I just removed them.
Good.
I just removed them.
Good.
Because that was very disruptive.
Yeah. That was really weird. That happened to me one time teaching a class. We had somebody jump on. When you do live forums and put the links up, that happens, because everyone can jump in and duplicate and do weird stuff.
Yeah, that they're attracted to the energy of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine also. I think, just got a lot of people liking. I don't have any more.
Okay.
Do I have? No, I don't have any more. No more questions. I don't see any new questions here. So, wow, this was really, really, really great. And I hope that it was really helpful for people, for Saturday. What is it? New Year's is what? New Year's Eve is Saturday, right?
Right. Yep.
Thinking about what they're going to do like for the new year, like clearing, decluttering. I hope that this was very, very helpful. So the replay will be of, oh, okay, someone did say yes, it was very helpful. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
So this is recorded, so people can reach out to me to get the recording and watch the replay.
Okay.
And again, your Facebook, can you give your Facebook and Instagram again so people can find you?
Yeah, my Instagram is Pink Ice 1099, and my Facebook is Tam Collins, Collins, and Rawlerson, Rawlerson. So I have different names because I'm hiding from my students. I usually don't friend them until they graduate because it's too messy, when they're still in school. But it's Tam Collins Rawlerson, and just, that's fine. Or you can just send me a DM.
Okay.
You're on mute, Adina.
One second. I just I was looking for the post that you had put in the group, and I had just wanted to just share with people like one reason why I had requested that you speak. I just want to just briefly okay, so everyone, one of the reasons why I asked Miss Richardson to come here was because we're in a Facebook group for Black Girl Minimalist, and her post was just so super inspiring. She mentioned how she paid off almost 30,000 of debt in less than a year using Dave Ramsey. Still
Dave
nuts.
Ramsey.
Yeah. And how she was recovering from being a shopaholic, and advice on how she lived off of half of her paycheck and donating clothes, and that clutter brings chaos. And one has to really be ready mentally to get rid of stuff. You don't realize how much trauma and emotional attachments you have to stuff.
Yep.
And that was just so inspiring to me. And I definitely reached out to her for some accountability. So I just kind of wanted to share with people how I found her to be a great resource. And I thought that she could be a great resource also, for a bigger platform. So I wish I could share the post because it's just so impactful. But thank you, everyone. This was the final Transformation Thursday for 2022, and I definitely want to say thank you for everyone who's been with me this year. I really, really appreciate it. Of course, it will continue. I actually have speakers scheduled up through February for this year.
Nice.
And if anyone has a topic that they would really like to learn about, please reach out to me, and I'll try to find someone who can speak on it, because the purpose of Transformation Thursday is to share holistic, natural, empowering, healing information, just sharing it to as many people as possible. Thank you so much, Miss Richardson. Thank you.
Thank
Again,
you.
Nefakara. Yes, Bronx in the house.
Yes.
Bronx in the house. So thank you all very much. And as I always like to say, if no one has told you, remember that we are all a spark of the divine. Okay, everyone, see y'all next year on a Thursday around 7-ish.
Yes. Happy New Year. And you all be well. One day at a time, but be well.
Thank you so much. Okay. Good night, everyone.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Good night. Good night.
A pleasure meeting you.
You too. You too. Good night.
Oh yeah, I'll share y'all's information.
Sure, that's fine. That's fine. Be safe, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay. Good night.
Good night.